Hi everyone, and welcome to our very first edition of Muggles and Mocha. I am Madison Darby, and you are currently listening to my blog, or vlog, I guess technically, from Madison K. Darby Editing, my freelance editing website. First, I kind of want to talk to you about the name. I finally came up with a name for this blog, but it wasn't all my idea. I want to give a quick shout out to Austin, England and Summer, England, who really helped me out when it comes to video editing. I got to chat with them about my ideas for the website and the blog. If you haven't, go follow Summer England. She releases these videos for the Prego Diary series. I'll include a link at the bottom in the description for this video. It's just it's funny, it's real, it's all about motherhood. I love it. She's really cool. And also you can follow her on Instagram. She posts a ton of funny Instagram stories, and I'll include that in the description as well. But while I was talking to them, I was mentioning that I was really having trouble with coming up with a name. It's like all of my creativity had run out at that point. I was writing all these articles and coming up with ideas, and then I would get to the name, and I would stare at it for 10 minutes and then not come up with anything. And I'd been polling people for a while, and then Austin just started like spitting them out. And after some experimenting, I came up with Muggles and Mocha because we're gonna have coffee while we talk about Harry Potter. You should get some coffee too. You can pause, you can go get it, and we can have coffee together. And I wish that I had a lot of Harry Potter mugs. I only have like 2, but I have a lot of cool mugs. They'll make an appearance. But today, I decided to use one of my Harry Potter mugs. Okay, I'm gonna have to turn it around so you can actually see it. So, okay. It is Snape and Lily. Look at them, they're standing by the tree. It's like from the 7th movie, and then it says always over here. And after all this time, after all this time, always got the dough. I don't know if you can really see that very clearly, but that's it. I got it from GameStop, and it's like my favorite mug I've ever gotten. It's one of those, you can see it kind of getting dark up here. It's because it's one of those heat mugs. So it's black, and then it turns into this. I love it. It's one of my favorite mugs. So, oh my gosh. This is such a good idea. Thank you, Austin. Thank you for this idea. And we're just gonna jump into it. Along with this video, please go read my first article posted. It's all about the different elements that J.K. Rowling introduces that are almost opposite to each other, how she starts us in our world with somewhere that's familiar, and then slowly introduces the wizarding world for us, including the characters that are gonna be there. We've got Dumbledore, McGonagall, Hagrid, a flying motorcycle, scars. I mean, hey, they're a magical part of this series, so they count. And I think it just really gets us invested because we start in a place that we know and that we're comfortable in, and then realize that in this place, you know, there's something behind the scenes. There's something more going on here. We meet Harry as a baby, and then by the end of that chapter, we're just like, okay, I'm in it. I want to know what's happened to this kid. I want to know who Voldemort is, his parents, what happened. Yeah, it's a great first chapter. And in these videos, we'll see how long they're going to be. This is a good tester video, so we'll see how long I can talk. I've taken some notes. They're kind of extensive, so hopefully I won't have to do too much cutting because I don't want y'all to be watching this for forever. Let me know in the comments below. I'm gonna be saying that a lot. Either in the comments of this YouTube video or on the comments on my website. Let me know what you think about this first video. Too long, too short? Do you want more? Do you really want to dive into it? Like, you know, I can't wait to read through these books with you. This is cool. Let's dive in. So, if you all pull out your book, got mine right here. So let's just flip on open and get started. Chapter 1. The Boy Who Lived. I really like in this edition of these books that they kept all the original like chapter artwork as well, because it's just very nostalgic. So like I talk about in the article that I posted, she actually starts with some people that might be kind of unexpected. We don't immediately start with Harry, we start with his aunt and uncle, who turn out to be, gosh, the worst. And we get introduced to their life, their little cozy Muggle life in number 4 on Privet Drive. And I read something recently by J.K. Rowling on Pottermore. Definitely check out Pottermore if you're a Harry Potter fan, by the way. She posts so much awesome material. She has a backstory for McGonagall on there. It's shocking. Like, it is shocking. There's so much good stuff to find that she releases. So do your research on there. It's so cool. But anyway, on Pottermore, she writes about number 4 Privet Drive, and she talks about how she came up with the names. And apparently number 4 was a very hard number for her. She felt like it was just very firm and kind of unforgiving. This is my words. And so that's why she chose the number. And then I really liked, she talked about Little Whinging is kind of a play on whining in Britain. So they live in Little Whinging. I hope I'm saying that right. That is how I've always pronounced it. So you're gonna hear me say some things, especially when we get to the spells. Who knows what's gonna come out of my mouth. Something I've always wondered, well, not really wondered, just more of considered, is that we don't really get any of this in the movies. In the movie, we immediately start with Dumbledore on Privet Drive, and this is one of the moments we're gonna be going through how the movies and the books are different, and the choices that the directors made. More often than not, I don't like the decisions, but with this one, it's not really that I don't like it. I just kind of see why they did it, because when you're going into the cinematic world in a book series that was popular, like they knew that they were going to get the readers in there, they were going to get the readers into the theaters, but they also needed to make it marketable for people who had never read the book. And if they're going to start the movie with us following this dude, I mean, it might be kind of boring if you hadn't have read the books, and you don't get that inner monologue. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm about to go on a rant. A lot of the times when I think that the directors made good choices in cutting things is in moments like this, when primarily we're getting the inside of someone's head, their innermost perspective, and that's the majority of what we're getting from Uncle Vernon here. You know, he's going to work, he sees our cat reading a map. I kind of wish that would have made it in, just because that's funny. And he sees people wearing strange clothes, the get-ups on young people, as he says. And we don't get to hear what's going on in his head. We don't get to see that fear when he hears the Potters' names and hear that kind of inner monologue where he's like, oh gosh, it can't be my relations. It can't be Petunia's sister. There's no way. At the beginning of the first movie of a series, I don't think they really could have conveyed that in the movie like the way it is in the book. Okay, moving on. We get to see the Professor McGonagall for the first time ever in her cat form. I think it's really cool that that's the first way we see this woman that's going to be just such a severe figure. We see her almost in what we would think of it, we don't know anything about the Harry Potter universe at this point. We would kind of see it as whimsical a bit. This lady can turn into a cat, and we don't learn about the animagus concept until later. I gotta hurry and drink this. It's getting cold. So, like we were talking about, we start with Uncle Vernon going through his day. We get our first glimpses of the wizarding world through this man's eyes, who, gosh, hates magic. I feel like even if he hadn't have met Petunia, didn't know magic existed, he would still be the way he is. I think that the sentence that just fully describes him and this family is on page 5 of my copy, and it says, got the book here, he hurried to his car and set off for home, hoping he was imagining things, which he had never hoped before, because he didn't approve of imagination. Gosh, poor Dudley. I mean, that's terrible. Creativity is important, not just with magic, but I'm not going to get off on that. So yeah, I think it's kind of funny that we see our first glimpses of the wizarding world from someone who hates it, because it also really just shows how much this family does despise magic. And we see later on, I think it's in the 5th book, that Petunia actually does know a lot about the wizarding world. Like, when she hears about Dementors, that they've attacked Dudley and Harry at the beginning of the Order of the Phoenix, she's like, holy cow, this is a huge deal. Like, they guard Azkaban. And you're like, oh, who the heck are you? Where have you been? So we see Uncle Vernon go through his day. He sees a lot of sketchy stuff. He hears the Potters' names. The dread is building as he is making his phone calls and doing whatever it is he does, making drills. And then we see him telling Petunia about what he has seen. And I think it's really interesting to think of Petunia's motivation in the books versus the movies. This is another one I don't think they could really convey. Like, in the movies, it just seems like she's online with Uncle Vernon. A healthy disdain of the magic community. But we know that, like, that's not true. It's that she wanted so badly to be a part of that community. And that this resentment that she's held onto for so long just comes from wanting to be like her sister and wanting to go off to this glorious place. Gosh, no wonder she hates Harry when he starts getting those letters. Like, it's just like history repeating itself. Once again, she's having to watch someone else in her life get a privilege that she just wasn't blessed with. Wow, we're getting deep. It's just interesting to think about, like, when you read her vitriol, it's not just coming from a place of like, oh my gosh, magic is the worst. How could they be so weird? That's Uncle Vernon. Petunia is like, how was I never good enough? And I think we can identify with that, honestly. We also see that she's just kind of an awful person, personality-wise. So I'm not like writing off all of the things she does, but I'm just saying it's interesting to think about where she's coming from when it comes to her hatred of magic. Let me know in the comments what you think about this. I feel like this is a really interesting point. And I think actually, as we read through Harry's time with the Dursleys every summer in the books, that I'm going to kind of look at that and really try to reflect on what she's thinking. I mean, I think she doesn't like Harry as a person too, but just how that weighs in. Wow. And look, I haven't even drunk that much. It's actually kind of getting cold. Okay, back to it. So next, we transition to the wizards. We've been in this Muggle world. We're getting like bits and pieces from Uncle Vernon. Not the best source to get your first look at the wizarding world from, which is why I think she throws in the big guns. We meet Albus Dumbledore. It's the first wizard we get a name for, honestly, unless you include the Potters, but he's the first one we see. She just describes him in the most glorious way, giving us the full picture. We see, actually, I'm going to read it to you because, wow, really good description. Nothing like this man had ever been seen on Privet Drive. He was tall, thin, and very old, judging by the silver of his hair and beard, which were both long enough to tuck into his belt. He was wearing long robes, a purple cloak that swept the ground, and high-heeled, buckled boots. His blue eyes were light, bright, and sparkling behind half-moon spectacles, and his nose was very long and crooked, as though it had been broken at least twice. This man's name was Albus Dumbledore. Honestly, I love the actor. His name's escaping me right now, but the one who came and took his place, Michael something. Put it in the comments if you just know off the top of your head. I loved the second actor, but Richard Harris, the first actor, wow. I just super think he fit Dumbledore's look to a T, and I'm speechless. We see Dumbledore for the first time. He's pulling out she calls it a put-outer in this book. Later, we refer to it as a deluminator. I don't really know why we get the different names. I have two thoughts. Maybe it's because, like, this is the beginning of the book. I know that J.K. Rowling, wow, if you ever get a moment, look up her planning for the Harry Potter books and just how she laid it out. I love looking at her notes. They released her notes once. I think it was for maybe the 5th Harry Potter book. And she has these charts. Oh gosh, I know she put a ton of planning into this. So this may have just have been something that maybe it just didn't have a name yet. And who would have known it would have come back the way it did in the 7th book? We literally don't hear about it until then, I think. Yeah, I don't think we hear about it until the 7th book when Ron gets it from Dumbledore's will. And that's when it's called the Deluminator. And here it's put the Put Outer. But then another thing is, like, we're getting introduced to the wizarding world. And there's a lot of things that are getting thrown at us. So maybe this was just a more informational name, and she didn't want to like hit us with a bunch of terms right off the bat. Like, we don't even know much about the wizarding world at this point, except for what the Dursleys have told us, which is next to nothing. They don't even want to talk to us readers about it, let's be honest. So yeah, maybe that's the reason for the name. And then we get Professor McGonagall doing her little transformation. Look, you can see how far I'm getting. Okay, so the next thing we get is McGonagall and Dumbledore talking about what has happened. And I really like the fact that, I mean, you can argue with me on this. Feel free to argue with me on anything. Like I said, book club, discussion, I'm here for it. Please share your comments. Don't get into fights, but you can get in debates in the comment section. I don't care. So we see Dumbledore and McGonagall talking, but I love how it's not like an information dump, in that like the narrator is telling us what has happened, you know? Like we get this conversation between McGonagall and Dumbledore where we don't know all the pieces, and we're just kind of picking up like, okay, Voldemort's destroyed. Professor McGonagall doesn't know the whole story. She's kind of prodding Dumbledore for it, and we're also prodding Dumbledore because we're like, okay, wait, what's going on here? And that's when we first hear the name Voldemort. We don't know that much about him except for he's stinking bad. And he's dead, maybe. They don't really know. And people are afraid to say his name. We get the first you-know-who of the book series. Okay, we also learn that the Potters have died. And, okay, I'm about to get deep again. So I was thinking about this, and, you know, we see Professor McGonagall's response. And she's very weepy. She's upset about this news. And of course, she's in the Order of the Phoenix, so she would have been close to Harry's parents. But I feel like I could really relate to Harry in a sense in these books when it came to the loss of his parents. My parents are alive and well. I grew up with them. That's not really what I mean. It's more of the fact that, like, you know, we only know what Harry knows about his parents. And I wish I could have known Lily and James. They seem like wonderful people. And you know, we learn about them as kids. We see their relationships with people as children. But I just wish I could have known them as adults. And I feel sad saying that because, you know, we see McGonagall and Dumbledore, how upset they are. And I wish Harry could have known these people, and that we could have seen them through his eyes as he, you know, had those relationships with them, and like who they were as adults and what they found important in their bravery. And gosh, I'm actually kind of getting sad. It's just, I just feel for Harry because you can just tell that his parents were like top notch, and they would have been so loving and wonderful. And I think it's the closest I can get to imagining what it would be like without parents, because I want to know these people too. And I know some of you out there can relate to Harry even more than I do. Maybe you grew up without parents, and man, I really just can't imagine how hard that would be, especially when we see just how appreciated they were by the people around them. Whew. All right. Moving on from that, because dang. We see that Hagrid is going to be coming, and that's when McGonagall first realizes that this is Harry's family. The people she has been watching all day and listening to and just realizing how horrible they are Harry Potter's aunt and uncle that he's going to be living with forever until he's an adult. And she's upset, understandably. I feel like I would be too. Reading this, we're all like, oh dear, he's gonna come live here? They hate his parents, they hate magic, they're gonna hate him. Like, you see a lot of what's gonna be happening here. And I kind of want to have a discussion about Dumbledore's decision to put Harry with the Dursleys. So what he tells McGonagall is that, you know, Harry wouldn't be able to handle the truth right now. He needs to be raised in a normal environment where, you know, he can grow and out of the spotlight, not knowing he's famous, and he says, like, can't you see how much better off he'll be growing up away until he's ready to take it? And that's what he tells McGonagall, and McGonagall goes with it. She's like, yeah, I guess that's a good idea. But do we realize what a significant moment this is? Because we find out that that's not really the only reason he puts Harry here. And honestly, if it hadn't have been for what we're about to talk about, I don't know if he would have put him with the Dursleys. They're the worst. I think he could have found maybe someone else that could have raised Harry in a loving environment. I don't know, just my thoughts. But like I said, we find out that Dumbledore placed him here because it means that Harry's mother's protection is still going to be on Harry. She left this protection by dying for him. It's a very ancient magic. It's love. Don't question it. I mean, yeah, you can question it. What I mean is don't look down on it because love is important. And it's the closest, I think. Wow, I'm getting deep again. Deep alert. I think love is the closest we can get to magic in our Muggle world. I think that it is magical. And J.K. Rowling really puts that into this, that it can be used as a form of magic that is so protective. And Dumbledore places Harry here so that he'll be with his mother's family. So that blood protection is like still on him. So that's another reason he's with the Dursleys. But yeah, what do you think? Do you think that like Dumbledore would have put him with someone else that maybe was a little kinder if it weren't for this protective spell? Let me know, because as we are going to see, Harry goes through a lot of crap. Finally, Hagrid pulls up on the scene. One of the best characters. I cannot wait to talk about Hagrid. He's funny, he's loving, he's warm. He's not as much like a father figure to Harry, but he's like his first caretaker. I'm not going to call the Dursleys caretakers because that's like, they took care of him, but that's about all they did. They fed him sometimes. But Hagrid's the first person who like is genuinely interested in him, and oh, Hagrid. And we get his awesome introduction. He's a half giant. He comes in on a flying motorcycle. We get a name drop of Sirius Black, who's going to be such an important character. And something sad to think about, not too long after this, Sirius Black is going to be going to jail. I'm not really sure of the timeline there, but it had to have just been days, if not a day, that he goes after Peter Pettigrew and then is framed for his murder. So we see little Harry. Harry is revealed. He's a little baby, and they see for the first time, good grief, this chapter. I know it's the beginning of the book, but like so much is introduced that it's going to come back, and it's going to be so exciting. All right, they see his scar. Lightning bolt shaped cut. Let me know in the comments below, how many of you drew a scar on your forehead as a kid? Because I did. I know I stole my mom's eyeliner. I know I drew it on my head on the left for some reason. That was my chosen side. I mean, it's the scar. I was obsessed. What can I say? So Professor McGonagall asks about this scar, and she's like, is there anything that can be done about it? I guess it looked bad. It was probably a fresh cut at this point. But Dumbledore, I'm wondering like what he knew. Because, you know, he says scars can come in handy. But at this point, like, he was suspicious about Voldemort, the things he was doing in his rise to power. I'm not sure how much he knew at this point. And I don't think that he expected that Voldemort had just created a Horcrux in that moment. But seeing that scar, I mean, you know he knew something was going to come from that, and that it meant something huge. Like I said about Pottermore, J.K. Rowling, I didn't go into that enough, I don't think, but J.K. Rowling releases her own writing on that site. Oh my gosh, you can find out so much information. She's even written about a lot about Fantastic Beasts, about magic in America, especially in the 1920s when Fantastic Beasts takes place. Oh, she put stuff about the other wizarding schools in different countries on there. That's one of my favorite parts. The history of Ilvermorny. Guys, I think that's going to be in the next movie. Go take the quiz on Pottermore and put in the comments below, what is your house? And from Hogwarts, as well as Ilvermorny, you can also take that test and read the history of Ilvermorny. It's super interesting. Slytherin is kind of involved, and it's just so interesting. I love the material she puts on there. But for me, I am a Ravenclaw for Hogwarts. Although I really think that like I'm super close to being a Hufflepuff. I'm like a Ravenclaw, Hufflepuff, a Ravenpuff, a Huffleclaw. And then for Ilvermorny, I got Horned Serpent, and it's been like a super long time since I read about Horned Serpent in the different houses, but it's kind of like the equivalent of Ravenclaw in the American school. Horned Serpent is supposed to be the mind of the wizard. And I'm not that smart. I don't really know how that kept happening, so oh well, I'll take it. But yeah, go take that test. Let me know your results. Get on Pottermore. Get on Pottermore. Really. You won't regret it. There's so much cool stuff that's released. So with that, Dumbledore and McGonagall and Hagrid place Harry on the doorstep. They leave a letter for the Dursleys. I want to read the last paragraph of the chapter. That might be kind of my thing. That might be kind of my ender. I might read the last paragraphs of these chapters because this one is just awesome. What a great ending. JK. She's my favorite author for sure because I think she can write for any audience. She writes for any age group with this series. It's just great. But this last paragraph. A breeze ruffled the neat hedges of Privet Drive, which lay silent and tidy under the inky sky, the very last place you would expect astonishing things to happen. Harry Potter rolled over inside his blankets without waking up. One small hand closed on the letter beside him and he slept on, not knowing he was special, not knowing he was famous, not knowing he would be woken in a few hours' time by Mrs. Dursley's scream as she opened the front door to put out the milk bottles, nor that he would spend the next few weeks being prodded and pinched by his cousin Dudley. He couldn't know that at this very moment, people meeting in secret all over the country were holding up their glasses and saying in hushed voices to Harry Potter, the boy who lived. I mean, you can't get much better than that. So, that is it. That is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, Chapter 1. Little discussion for you there. Like I have said many times, please post your thoughts in the comments, or you can even message me directly through my contact page and visit me at my website. This isn't the only thing I'm going to be offering, even though it might be your favorite, it might be my favorite. But my website, in case you've missed it, is my freelance editing website. I've been a book editor for a couple of years now, so this is a place that if you're looking for editing services, check out the different things that I provide. I provide both editing and book building services, which is kind of like coaching if you're thinking about writing a book. So really check that out. Get over there. I have a contact page. You can send me stuff about the blog. You can send me if you're interested in working with me when it comes to editing, let me know. Yeah, there's a lot going on over there. So for the blog, I'll be having this, which will be, a recurring article / video. And then I'm also going to be writing some other things, maybe about what I'm reading now. I'm currently reading The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. I've never read them. So I might be writing about that coming up soon. I'm planning on doing some book reviews. And then also I'm going to be putting some writing advice on there for all of you writers, or even if like writing's a hobby, just ways that we can get better together. And that's going to be another big part of the blog. So I think that's all I have for you today. So in the meantime, read Chapter 2. I'll be posting that next week. I'm going to be trying to post them on the same days. It'll just depend on my time and if I'm able to get all of the editing done with both the article and the video by that date. So keep up with it. Follow me on social media. I have all of my social media handles on the website that you can click on and follow. That's where I'm going to be posting when new things are released, both for the writing advice and for the literature side, which I'm considering calling Get Lit. I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you think about that. So yeah, have a great day. I'll talk to you guys again soon. Thanks for tuning in.